All right, diving right in today. We're taking a deep dive into the 2024 film A Different Man, starring Sebastian Stan.
Oh, yeah, definitely one I've had my eye on.
Yeah, and I mean, Sebastian Stan, right, he's really come a long way from Gossip Girl and the Marvel Universe, hasn't he, to these, like, really meaty, critically acclaimed roles.
It really shows his range, doesn't it? That willingness to, like, push boundaries as an actor.
Totally. And this film, from what I read, with its premise of, a man undergoing facial reconstruction surgery, it seems like, oh man, it's giving him a real chance to explore some deep, complex themes.
Definitely ripe for exploration.
So let's get into it. We've got a whole stack of IMDb user reviews here. First things first, what's the overall vibe? Is it living up to the hype?
Well, the average rating, it sits at a respectable 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10. Okay, so that puts it in what, like the generally positive category? Not like an instant classic, but definitely generating buzz.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting people talking, which is always a good sign.
Yeah, for sure. And what about Stan's performance? I mean, that's got to be a big draw for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. Reviewers are consistently praising his performance, like remarkable and transformative. Those are words that keep popping up.
Remarkable and transformative. Yeah, those are pretty strong endorsements.
Definitely. One user, Spencer Cook, I think it was, even specifically called out Stan's ability to convey, the character's like gradual evolution of mental complexities.
That's interesting. It's like, it's not just about the physical transformation, right? It's about embodying that inner struggle, the emotional journey.
Yeah, exactly. To really bring that to life on screen, that's not easy.
No, not at all. And speaking of physical transformation, we can't overlook the fact that Adam Pearson, who also stars in the film, he actually has facial differences himself.
That's right. It's like this added layer of like authenticity and I mean, wow, what a bold move by the filmmakers.
I'm already thinking about the impact of that casting choice. It's not just a performance, it's a statement.
Yeah, for sure. And it seems to be resonating with viewers. Reviewer Clay Kerhart mentioned, like, they were already familiar with Pearson's work, and they were so excited to see him in another A24 film.
Oh, that's cool. A24 always puts out such interesting stuff.
Absolutely. They don't shy away from taking risks.
All right, so we've got this compelling story, Stan taking on this challenging role, and then the added layer of authenticity with Adam Pearson. But let's get to the heart of it. What are the reviewers saying about the deeper stuff? The themes the film is exploring?
Well, the theme that keeps popping up, it's identity crisis.
Identity crisis, yeah. Makes sense with the whole premise of changing your appearance.
Right. Like, user Neartajas was really struck by the film's exploration of that, the whole grass is greener aspect of change.
Like that yearning to believe that if we could just alter our appearance, that everything would magically fall into place.
Yeah, exactly. And haven't we all felt that way at some point, right? I mean, imagine what life would be like if we just looked different.
It's such a universal human experience.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so powerful.
Totally. This film seems to really tap into that.
So identity crisis is a big one. What other themes jumped out at you from the reviews?
Let me see. Another one that was really prominent was like the pressure men face to conform to certain societal standards, like success, charisma, all of that.
Oh, interesting. User Agent 10 brought that up, right?
Yes. And they even mentioned like how those pressures can lead men to kind of like suppress their true selves, disappear into the woodwork.
We hear so much about the pressure on women to meet certain beauty standards, but it's so important to acknowledge that men experience it too, just in different ways.
Absolutely. And I think this film, its willingness to tackle these often ignored aspects of masculinity, I think that's one of the reasons it's like provoking such strong reaction.
It's starting those important conversations, right?
For sure. And those are conversations we need to be having.
Okay, so we've got identity crisis, societal expectations for men. There's got to be more bubbling beneath the surface. What else are reviewers highlighting?
Well, there's this recurring idea about like self-acceptance and the pitfalls of chasing external validation.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like changing your appearance doesn't automatically lead to happiness, right?
Exactly. And reviewer Evans and Stondad, I think, brought up this really interesting point about like the line between, societal limitations and choosing to be a victim. That sparked a lot of discussion.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a really thought-provoking idea, especially in today's world where we're bombarded with images of like perfection everywhere we look.
It's easy to fall into that trap, of constantly comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we're not enough.
Definitely. And A Different Man seems to be offering this timely reminder that true happiness comes from within, not from trying to fit some external mold.
Right, like embrace who you are, flaws and all.
Okay, so we've got these really weighty themes coming through. But what about the tone and genre of the film? Is it a straight-up drama, a dark comedy, something else entirely?
Hmm, that's where things get really interesting, Reviewers are using all sorts of terms to describe it. Psychological horror, dark comedy, surreal. Some even call it an artful exploration.
Wow, that's quite a mix. It sounds like it might be like intentionally blurring lines and playing with those genre conventions.
I think so, yeah. It seems like it's a film that defies easy categorization, and that's part of what makes it so intriguing.
It keeps you guessing, keeps you on your toes.
Exactly. And this variety in responses, it suggests that this is a film that's going to stay with you. It's going to linger in your mind long after the credits roll.
Speaking of lingering, what about the criticisms? Did any reviewers have, like, negative things to say?
Well, some did find the pacing a bit slow, Like Film Guy C22804 and Non-Chill, they both felt like it overstayed its welcome a bit.
Interesting. So even with the strong themes and the compelling performances, it's not hitting the mark for everyone.
Yeah, and another reviewer, Nanofurby's Wex, they called the ending a missed opportunity. That one really piqued my curiosity.
A missed opportunity, huh? So even with its thought-provoking themes and those strong performances, it sounds like A Different Man might not be everyone's cup of tea. But hey, that's what makes these film discussions so interesting, right? The subjective nature of it all.
Absolutely. One person's slow burn is another person's boring, and that's okay. It's all about perspective.
Exactly. Before we move on, I'm curious, did any reviewers compare A Different Man to other films? Sometimes those comparisons can be really insightful.
Yes, actually, some of the comparisons that popped up were Synecdoche, New York, Dead Ringers, and even Adaptation.
Wow, those are some heavy hitters. It makes you wonder how A Different Man might connect to those films thematically or stylistically.
It definitely does. It speaks to the film's ambition, and its potential to resonate with audiences on this, like deeper, more intellectual level. But we'll delve further into that in the next part of our deep dive. So, we touched on the casting of Adam Pearson earlier. Casting an actor with facial differences to play a character with facial differences, it's definitely a bold move, and it stirred up quite a bit of conversation in the reviews.
Yeah, for sure. I'm seeing a lot of praise for the authenticity it brings, but also some concerns about, like, potential exploitation. It's a really tricky line to navigate, isn't it?
It really is. And I think it's important to remember that, Adam Pearson is a vocal advocate for disability rights and representation in media.
Yeah.
He's spoken openly about wanting to see more actors with disabilities cast in roles that genuinely reflect their lived experiences.
Which makes his presence in this film even more significant. It's not just about casting, right? It's about amplifying voices that have been historically marginalized.
Absolutely. And reviewers are picking up on that. They're not just praising Pearson's performance for its authenticity, but also for its depth and complexity. Like, he's bringing so much more to the table than just his physical appearance.
It's interesting how reviewers are interpreting Sebastian Stan's character, Edward, the man who undergoes the facial reconstruction surgery.
Yeah.
Some seem to really empathize with his desire to fit in, while others see him as, like, shallow and self-centered.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think it speaks to both the writing and Stan's performance that the character is eliciting such a range of responses. Like, he's clearly not meant to be a simple hero or villain,
No, definitely not. Edward he's complex, he's flawed, he's grappling with his identity and his place in the world, and it sounds like Stan is really capturing that struggle.
I think so, yeah. And that internal struggle, that seems to be at the heart of the film. It's about so much more than just physical appearance. It's about self-worth, acceptance, that immense pressure to conform to societal expectations.
Right, right. And I think that's what makes A Different Man so compelling. It's not just this, like, superficial exploration of beauty and difference, but it's a real psychological deep dive into the complexities of the human experience.
Totally. It's getting under the surface of things.
And reading these reviews, I'm getting a strong sense of the film's atmosphere. Words like surreal, unpredictable, and disturbing keep coming up. Doesn't sound like your typical, feel-good movie.
Oh, definitely not. And, I think that's part of its appeal. A Different Man, it seems to be challenging viewers to step outside their comfort zones, confront some uncomfortable truths, about themselves and the world around them.
It's like that sense of unease, that discomfort, it can be so effective in a film, can't it? It forces us to, like, really engage with the material on a deeper level.
Absolutely. And it seems like the filmmakers are, they're kind of intentionally playing with audience expectations. They're blending genres, shifting tones. They're creating this viewing experience that's both captivating and unsettling. It keeps you on edge.
It's interesting. A few reviewers compared A Different Man to the works of David Cronenberg. That's that's a pretty bold comparison, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. But I think it makes sense. Both Cronenberg and the filmmakers of A Different Man, they seem to be fascinated by that intersection of the physical and psychological, and they're not afraid to explore those darker, more disturbing aspects of human nature.
They push boundaries,
Right.
both visually and thematically.
Exactly. And speaking of pushing boundaries, some reviewers mention scenes that are like both visually striking and emotionally unsettling, especially in how the film uses body horror and explores themes of obsession and identity.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like A Different Man doesn't shy away from difficult topics. It's delving into the complexities of the human psyche.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that unflinching approach is resonating with some viewers while maybe turning others off.
Definitely. It's not going to be for everyone, but for those who are willing to go on that journey with the film, it sounds like it could be a truly rewarding experience.
So yeah, for our listeners, if you appreciate films that push boundaries, explore those complex themes, and don't shy away from making you feel a little uncomfortable, A Different Man might be right up your alley.
I think that's a safe bet. Even the reviewers who had criticisms, they acknowledged the film's ambition and its potential to spark important conversations.
Yeah, to really get people thinking and talking. So we've covered a lot, right? The film's themes, its style, that controversy surrounding its casting, and the fact that it's not afraid to push the envelope. But we haven't talked about the ending yet. What are reviewers saying about how it all wraps up?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The ending seems to be one of the most divisive aspects of the film. Like, some viewers found it satisfying and thought-provoking, while others felt it was a letdown, or even a missed opportunity.
Ooh, I love a good divisive ending. It means that the filmmakers took a risk and weren't afraid to leave the audience with, like, more questions than answers.
Exactly. And it sounds like the ending of A Different Man is one that's it's going to stick with you. Prompt discussion, maybe even some healthy debate long after the credits roll.
It's a conversation starter, for sure. Can you give us a little taste of what's generating these strong reactions without giving too much away?
Okay, so reviewer None or Fear Beeswax. They described the ending as a missed opportunity, like implying that they felt the film didn't fully capitalize on its potential. And another reviewer, Snoopy Style, they even went so far as to suggest an alternate ending that they thought would have been more impactful.
So some viewers might be left wanting more, huh? Feeling like the film didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah, it's possible, but other reviewers, like Beristoff, they found the ending profound and moving. They saw it as a powerful statement about self-acceptance, finding happiness in who you are rather than who you think you should be.
It sounds like the ending is really open to interpretation, and its impact really depends on the individual viewer's perspective and expectations.
Exactly. And that's part of what makes it so fascinating, right? It's an ending that doesn't offer easy answers or tie up all the loose ends neatly. It challenges viewers to think for themselves and come to their own conclusions.
Okay, so the ending is a bit of a mystery, a potential springboard for discussion and debate. But what about the overall takeaway? What are viewers left feeling after watching A Different Man?
Well, the one thing that seems to be consistent across the reviews is that A Different Man is a film that stays with you. It's a film that provokes thought, sparks conversation, and challenges viewers to confront their own assumptions about beauty, identity, and just the human experience.
Wow. It sounds like it's a film that's not afraid to ask those tough questions and doesn't offer those easy answers. It invites viewers to engage with it on a deeper level and come to their own conclusions.
Precisely. And I think that speaks to the film's ambition,
Yeah.
and its willingness to push boundaries. It's not a film for everyone, but for those who are open to the challenge, it sounds like it could be a truly rewarding experience.
We've talked a lot about the themes and the overall experience of the film, but we haven't really zeroed in on the performances yet.
That's right. And considering all the praise Sebastian Stan and Adam Pearson are getting, their performances deserve a closer look.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wrap up our deep dive into A Different Man by really zeroing in on those performances. They seem to be at the heart of what's making this film tick.
Absolutely, yeah. And with an actor like Sebastian Stan, Right. Known for those big blockbuster roles, taking on such a raw and complex character, it's no wonder his performance is generating so much buzz.
Yeah, he's really, like, shedding that Winter Soldier skin and stepping into something totally different.
And reviewers are definitely picking up on that. The words remarkable and transformative are like constantly coming up. There was one user, Spencer M. Cook, I think, they talked about Stan's ability to convey the character's like gradual evolution of mental complexities. It really speaks to the depth he's bringing to this role.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if Stan is, like, intentionally seeking out these roles that really challenge him,
Yeah.
push him outside his comfort zone.
Right. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, think about his performance in Pam and Tommy, that Hulu series.
Yeah.
He he underwent a pretty significant physical transformation to play Tommy Lee.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then there's Fresh, too, that psychological thriller. That
Yeah.
also explored, that darker side of human nature.
Exactly. There's definitely a pattern emerging here.
It seems like he's really interested in these projects that allow him to dig into the complexities of the human psyche.
Mhm.
And he's, like, really sinking his teeth into this role in a different man.
I think you're right. This isn't just, another job for him. It feels like he's really connected with this character on a deeper level, and that's translating to a truly captivating performance.
So Sebastian Stan is absolutely delivering. But let's talk about Adam Pearson. He's not, as well known as Stan, but his presence in the film seems just as powerful.
Yeah, it's interesting because Pearson himself has talked about how he wants to avoid being, pigeonholed as like guy with facial differences. He wants to be seen as an actor first and foremost.
Right, and I think that's so important. It's about, like, breaking down those barriers and expanding the way we see actors with disabilities.
Totally. And reviewers they're responding to that. They're not just praising Pearson's performance for its authenticity, but also for its depth and range. One reviewer even said that Pearson steals the show with his portrayal of Oswald. They described his performance as like charming and positive, which is interesting considering, the heavy subject matter of the
Yeah,
film.
that's a great point. I mean, this film it's exploring some pretty dark and intense themes, identity crisis, societal pressure, self-acceptance. So a bit of lightness and charm could really provide a nice contrast.
Yeah, for sure. It adds another dimension to the film. Another way of looking at these complex issues.
So we have Sebastian Stan, giving this powerhouse performance as a man struggling with his identity, and then we have Adam Pearson, bringing this depth and nuance to a character who challenges those preconceived notions we have about beauty and acceptance. It sounds like a truly compelling dynamic.
It really is. And I think the interplay between those two performances, that's what elevates a different man from just, a thought-provoking film to a truly unforgettable experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all this?
I'd say if you're looking for a film that challenges conventions, explores complex themes, and maybe with a bit of dark humor sprinkled in and features some truly outstanding performances, A Different Man is definitely worth checking out. But be prepared. This is a film that will stay with you. It'll prompt questions and start conversations long after those credits roll.
And that's what a great film should do, right?
Yeah.
It should leave you thinking and feeling and wanting to discuss it with others.
Exactly. And on that note, if you, dear listener, have seen A Different Man, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you? What questions did it raise for you? Let's keep this conversation going.